Click the links to join the channel and check out the various other Odyssey, Bit Chute, Shing, Locals, Telegram platforms. So, Black Pill did a great breakdown on Turning Red when that came out, I don't know, last year on his Odyssey live stream, which if you're not on, get on Odyssey and Shing. It's the Wild West. It's like YouTube. I mean, back in the early days, not even, I don't think YouTube was this wild. It'd be like that if they had live streaming and anything kind of went. It's kind of weird having free speech, discovering what people actually feel about opinions, because it's not what the mainstream is putting out there. People feel actually quite differently. It's weird how their voices aren't represented in government or in mainstream media. It's like we're being ruled by this secret group of people who are all on one page and we're on another. Maybe one day we'll reach a tipping point. We'll actually have our riots are the language of the unheard, except for January 6th, the peaceful protest. Anyway, so it makes me wonder why platforms are so scared of free speech. What exactly are they afraid of? Let's go to the ones I'm more familiar with. So I saw this list of recent bombs from Hollywood, and some were woke bombs and some were just bad, but there was an overrepresentation of woke failures. And Disney and DC, or yeah, Disney Marvel had some $100 million losses that really didn't have to happen. Something like X-Men, the latest one, or Terminator, the last one, and Charlie's Angels, or SS Squad Part 2, or Wonder Woman 84, or Matrix Part 4. They all could have made money, but they got woke, or like a step down from woke would just be politically correct. But there is no need to be politically correct. It's just like you're just on this Bolshevik plantation. And hopefully one day people all have this mass awakening that they've been manipulated by very bad people. Twitter is putting a little pressure on them. The 12 angry weirdos on the Twitter mob. But if they wanted to ignore Twitter, these big companies absolutely could. Like, they could just ignore Twitter. Twitter is not driving them left. They're all globalists hand in hand together. Something like Matrix is sort of a different, sort of different. I have to assume that everyone in some of these movies, I didn't even know they lost money. I assumed that SS Squad Part 2 was going to do. I assumed that would do well, that people would kind of be on board with that. I mean, I knew it was a bad movie, but I didn't think it was $100 million bad. Um, Something like The Matrix, I'm kind of surprised that more people weren't aware that it was going to be a massive, massive uh, bomb. Into this case, $130 million. That's a lot of money to virtue signal, and sort of surprising that it found the people to fund it. But trying to understand their motivations is really difficult. I never heard of half of these. Jungle Cruise, oh god, what a cluster after that. Dwayne Johnson's actually been on board a bunch of bombs. So is Will Smith, and I mean, so have like a lot of big actors. They've been on board some huge, huge losses. People's definitely swing for the fences. So with Matrix 4, there might have been this disconnect between internet culture and the movie studio, because the chads on the internet know the direction that the movie was going to go in, because they know the people behind it were super, super woke and they had Trump derangement syndrome. So Matrix people who are fans of that type of film genre, sci-fi, they're more online than like casual movie fans might be. So they're more aware of what was going on. They had their finger on the cultural pulse with the Matrix director. I forget the person's name. So they knew the movie was going to be just an insane virtue signaling woke fest, which it very much was. The movie should have been a hit. I mean, you had everything in place to make you could have made like a more slower paced cerebral thriller, and it could have been a more lower budget thing, but it's like it could have been a hit if you just were able to put your identity politics and your Trump derangement syndrome down and just make a movie that was in the vein of the original movies, which I don't know if they were like openly borrowed from William Gibson's books, but it kind of felt like that same universe, which Keanu Reeves was also in is he Johnny Mnemonic or Mona Lisa Overdrive or something? They turned those books into movies, which just kind of felt like what The Matrix was. Um, or maybe something out of Philip K. Dick. Anyway, so Wonder Woman 84 had the excuse of the Wu flu, which all these films had, but the Wonder Woman 84, the timing was really, really bad. But the thing is, excuses or not, that was a horrible, horrible 2.5 hour slog where every bad guy is I can't help but notice that every bad guy is fair skinned and specifically blonde hair. Patty Jenkins. Is there something you'd like to tell us? Or even the opening scenes of a blonde couple comes out and they litter, and it's a fair skinned blonde couple, and then there's a blonde driver driving a I don't know was it the Pontiac or a Camaro or something, and he's fishtailing around a corner, and he's gonna run somebody over, and Wonder Woman has to stop him. And then the scene in the mall where there's a blonde guy who kidnaps a kid and hijacks a mall or something. It's like, gee, it's feels like you've got an issue with blonde people because that's not what America that's not what was happening in American cities in 1984. It's like she showed a series of unicorns after unicorns after unicorns. Anyway, the horrible woke nonsense. But Jungle Cruise and Turning Red were both films that lost over $150 million, which is a respectable chunk of change, even for these. Well, maybe not for Disney. Like money like that, it really doesn't matter to them. So Jungle Cruise was sort of, vaguely feminist, which pretty much everything is nowadays, which destroys the point of the story. If you've got a male and female in roles, people want to see them in certain roles. At some point, you just have to accept that Hollywood is not making movies that people want to see anymore. But SJWs don't want to see men and women in certain roles because SJWs are insane. They're completely brainwashed by Bolshevik globalists. They want to see the women do everything that the man does, which renders the male character pointless. You might as well not even have him in the movie. And especially, someone who's very physically present, like Dwayne Johnson is a very physically fit guy. He's perfect for this action role, but you're not having him do the stuff that is supposed to be done. Most of the audience want to see the sacred masculine and feminine on screen, which is why I think Hollywood is in deep trouble. But then you come to something like Turning Red. I had no idea I lost this much money, which is something that's actually satanic. And this is the disconnect between the, in quotes, professional reviewers and the audience. The Cat Lady and Soy Boy reviewers say that it's a family-friendly film, but the audience says it's not a family-friendly film. It is not for kids. That is a critical disconnect. It's a fundamental schism in worldviews between kind of the soulless, rudderless, degenerate parasites who want to pervert kids and the normal people who want to protect kids from filthy Hollywood. Assume all of Hollywood is run by demon people who want to brainwash kids. Cartoon Network is not making a trans cartoon that shows a mutilated anthropomorphic character because they want to help kids. Kids learn, kids observe and emulate. If you show them that they also can be BLT and get attention from their teachers and their classmates, and there's those rainbow flags throughout the class, and their teacher is blue-haired weirdo is teaching them all about magical, mystical pronouns, and that they can get on cross-sex hormones and sterilize themselves. Well, there's some susceptible kids who are just going to jump on board with that kind of stuff because they want attention or they've got issues. They're just kids pick things up. Like if you had a teacher who commuted in the summer months on a motorcycle, you would have an overrepresentation of kids who got into dirt bikes. Turning Red was about children rejecting their parents' teaching and becoming good little globalist puppets for Soros and Schwab, good little Rothschild's debt slaves. The lesson was that kids actually know better than their parents. It's an insane message to send to kids at the age when they're still wearing capes and want to be superhero type of things. I don't know if probably not so much anymore because kids don't read comic books because they're so horrible. Kids aren't forming their own opinions. Obviously, this is all externalities. The globalist schools and media and social media is brainwashing kids into believing all sorts of nonsense. They're brainwashing them into the left-hand sinister path away from the right-hand path of family, tribe, nation, nationalism, um, dexterous versus sinister. Everything you realize, eventually you're going to realize that it's all globalist propaganda. They say it's dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. Well, it's even more dangerous to be right when the government, the media, and the NGOs that control the media and the social media and the financial institutions, as Mr. Ye is finding out, if they're all wrong and you're right. The only white pill in that is there's more of us than there are of them. And we have social media and alt social media and alt finance. And now we kind of got tech on our side. The thing is, you just can't take part in the system of brainwashing and expect your kids to come out normal. We would be better off forming communities without kids having access to the mainstream media or social media propaganda. It's all globalist satanic propaganda. Set up schools where boys are boys and girls are girls, and you don't get to play dress up or have wave around Sodom and Gomorrah flags and all that kind of transition closets so the predator teachers can brainwash you into a bunch of nonsense. Every minute you spend in a school learning about some of that kind of globalist propaganda nonsense is a minute that you should have been focusing on Aristotle or learning. Today we're going to go over the Greek and Latin prefixes and suffixes, so you learn the structure of the language you speak, so you can put words together and roughly get the ideas of words. It'll increase your reading comprehension. Um, Orders of magnitude if you know the Greek and Latin. And I'm not talking about speaking it fluently. I'm just talking about going through the prefixes and suffixes like we did in class, and it helped reading comprehension just to an amazing rate. And we're going to learn some mathematics and how compound interest works and the concepts of math and physics of integration and derivation, because it will help you understand the world around you. Yes, you need to know about compound interest. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve. We're going to talk about the history of taxation in America and the founding fathers and all. We're going to wash off all that globalist nonsense and judge people in the time that they were present, not in today's current winds of change that change. Hercules said change is constant. Yeah, well, so we're going to judge these people from 200 years ago by today's mores and standards. So what happens 200 years from now when they judge us? Oh, we never thought of that. Oh, maybe we should just not judge people. Maybe this is all globalist propaganda brainwashing. Why don't we look at the people who are controlling the school boards? Who is this? Who is this Weingarten? Who is this Garfinkel and his nephew? And Garland and his nephew, who are selling the schools, the globalist critical theory schools from the Frankfurt School to the school districts. Who are these people who are brainwashing these kids? Yeah, let's learn about everything. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on Odyssey, Bit Chute, subscribe, sir.